All right, so there's three types of basic problems. The first one's a mixture. We did the mixture in class. If you didn't get that, that is online in a separate video. This is number 2, and this one is the second type, and it's a money problem. So we've got mixture, money, and then a general, which has just a little, could be about anything. So the money problems, there's sometimes tricks to these. The first thing is I want to go through the problem and make sure we have all of the information that we need written down here. So the first thing is a company had $50,000 and they were going to invest it into 3 accounts. At the end of 1 year, the company had $54,500 and they had earned 12% from the growth fund. They had earned 8% from the income fund, and they had earned 5% from a money market. Now, the other thing that they tell us in this problem is that they invested twice as much in the income fund as they did in the money market fund. At the end, we want to know how much did they invest in each fund. So the first thing that we're going to do is define our variables. That's D. The variables for this problem there are 3 of them: X, Y, and Z. X is the amount of money invested in growth, the growth fund. Y is the money invested in the income fund. And Z is the money invested in the money market. These are the 3 variables that we're going to use to write our equations. Step 2, write your equations. The equations are going to be 3 unknowns requires 3 equations. So the first equation, I'm going to go look through and I see some totals that I had in my original data. 50,000 is one of my totals. That's how much they invested in the 3 accounts. So the amount that they put into the growth fund plus the amount that they put into the income fund plus the amount that they put into the money market fund has to equal 50,000. So this is just original investment amount spread between the 3 accounts. The second equation is always going to be the earnings equation. So when we look at this one, it turns out that they have a total of $54,500 in the account. That's not what they earned. That's their new total. So I need to take off the original $50,000 investment, and I'm going to say they earned $4,500 in 1 year. They earned that $4,500 because they got 12% of what they invested into the growth fund. They got 8% back on what they invested into the income fund, and they got 5% back of what they invested into the money market fund. We have 2 equations written. We have 3 unknowns. We need 1 more equation. That's when we go back to the original problem and they say they invested twice as much in the income fund as they put into the money market fund. So the only 2 variables that are going to show up in this equation are Y and X. Whenever I write these comparison equations, I think about which one had more money in it. Well, they put twice as much into the income fund. So Y has more money in it than Z does by twice as much. Okay? All right, so we have 3 equations written. That bottom equation doesn't have all the coefficients in it, or all of the variables in it, but that's okay. So we're going to write our matrices. Matrices is when we put this in our calculator. So DEM, that's my 3rd step. DEMS is the process I'm going through on this, and this is me writing my matrices. Now, whenever we write the matrices, we talked about this in our notes, you have to have everything in a certain order. So when we're writing it, it needs to go X, Y, Z equal sign constant. Equation 1 does that. X, Y, Z equal sign constant. Equation 2 does that. X, no X in equation 3. Y is here, but Z is on the wrong side of the equal sign. and I have equal sign, and there is no constant for this one. This equation needs to be rewritten before I can put it in matrix form. Rewriting it, I just want all my variables on one side in XYZ order and the constant on the right-hand side. So if I move the 2z over by subtracting it from both sides, it's left being set equal to 0. Now when I write my coefficient matrix, I have 1, 1, 1, 0.12, 0.08, and 0.05. And then I have 0, no x's, because there is no x in that third equation, 1, and minus 2. The order that you have them written horizontally here is the order that you write your variables vertically into the variable matrix. And then it's always equal to the constants. This goes in your calculator as matrix A. If you need a refresher on how to do that, there is a half-sheet notes posted in the website that can show you how to do that. The constant matrix goes in as matrix B, and then the command that you want to type in your calculator is A to the negative 1, which means inverse, the inverse of A times B. Once you do that, you're going to get your solution. And your solution, you're going to be specific in your answer to tell me exactly what comes out of your calculator. So hit pause, type that all in your calculator, do this command, and then what comes out should be that you get $20,000 that you invested in the income fund. You invested $20,000 into the growth fund, and you invested $10,000 in the money market fund. Okay, be sure you label your answers with dollar signs and information on which fund or which variable those were associated with. And that's number 2.